Hi there, this is an extra two-part video for your astrological overview of 2012, and it's not so much about the astrology, a little bit, but not so much. This is me putting in my two pennyworth about what's going on in the background here, because I think it's very significant. So there's going to be continuing the major transit between Uranus and Pluto over 2012, and those two, their job is to shake us all up and to change history and put things on a very different footing. So they shall be carrying on doing that as they were in 2011. And there's going to be a grand cross coming up in July, 17th of July 2012, when those two are joined by Mars and the Moon, making, covering the 4 compass points in the sky. And in astro babble, that's, called a grand cross, and it's very, very significant. But there's going to be several factors that are significant, I think, in 2012. And just coming away from the astrology for the moment, all through in the ancient records and the ancient prophecies have pointed at this time we're in now, and it's very, very important times. The Mayans, if we can just focus on them, according to the translation of the Mayan calendar, the Mayan prophecy, we're entering the end of the 13 Baktun cycle, which means we're completing one great age, which is an epoch spanning around about 26,000 years. And from what I can gather, the way the Mayans looked at this is that we're coming into an amazing new age. So this is like a birthing. And at the moment, we're in the labor part, the pangs of the birthing. The way they looked at it in the human female, gestation takes around about 260 days. So in the Mayan philosophy, December the 21st, 2012 is a kind of collective birth, which occurs at the end of this 26,000 year period of gestation, and it'll be the birth of the new human and the new earth and the new way. But also because at the same time we are aligning with the galactic center. The December solstice sun is aligning with the galactic center. This also marks, among other signs and portents, but that signals that we are coming into a time of spiritual rebirth. And also at this time it is said that, and I've got no reason to dispute this, that after a long cycle of us pulling away from the galactic center, on December 21st, 2012, we will turn in our solar system and start going back towards the galactic center. So this is going to be the end of a long cycle of darkness for us. And this is a huge opportunity to reconnect with grace and divinity, and the beating heart of the cosmos. And it requires a transformation in our consciousness, and this is already happening, particularly with the younger people. But the habits, old habits die hard, and we've got the habits of a history that was rooted in that dark cycle. And, our systems are set up like that, and even our race memories and our DNA, I guess, have been affected. So we, who are a little bit perhaps more switched on and aware at least, can help midwife this thing by working on ourselves, because we all radiate. So if you work on yourself, you are going to positively affect your kids, or, your parents, friends, people you work with, just the very fabric of the ether around you. And we need to make efforts, I think. This is, just my take on it, in whatever way we can. So a good tip for me would be to try to take a few minutes every day to still the mind and meditate. Another way would be to do pranayama, working with the breath, or doing kriya yoga, or maybe yoga, Tai Chi, and that type of thing. Also eating lighter, more energy-enhancing foods that have got better life force in them. There's a growing sector in our societies of breatharians, who are people who for years and years and years and years and years never eat anything at all, and they live quite happily and have babies and just don't need to eat, but that's a whole other subject. And I'm not suggesting, because you need to really go into it very, very, very gradually over a long time, lightening up the food that you eat before you actually get to the point where you could drop food altogether. And it certainly isn't cut out for everyone either, or rather everyone isn't cut out to do it. So anyway, this galactic center, and we'll start going towards it again, and you guys who were born maybe with a point in your natal chart aspecting the galactic center will probably get this more quickly, but this is open, of course, to all. I was born with the Sun conjunct the galactic center, and always knowing there was a little bit more to everything than what met the eye, sort of thing. And I suppose that might be to do with that. But also, and by the way, the galactic center has been in Sagittarius for several decades, so now you'll know my sun sign. Now, supporting actors during this huge winding up and this laboring process, where we're finishing off this old order and this new babe is going to be born, and that's us. And we're the special ones that got here to help this birthing time, are these two planets, Uranus and Pluto. Uranus and Pluto will be in challenging aspect in our skies for more or less the whole of 2012, and this will be a recurring aspect until into 2015. And it really gets into gear from June, and again it peaks in September 2012. Uranus rules Aquarius. It's about freedom and change and raising social awareness and revolution and a new order. And it rules anything which breaks the mold, like ETs and crop circles and C6 Steve. Or anything which is cutting edge in technology or new inventions or sciences. It rules astronomy and astrology as well, and space travel. It rules lots of things. But also it rules the internet, and for several years now we've had pretty much free exchange across the world. I say that, but actually some places in the world are very, very restricted, but across the world of information by ordinary people, off their mobile phones or whatever. And now Pluto rules Scorpio, and that's the sign of possessiveness, willpower, sex, secrets and lies. But it also rules loads of other things, but I'm just concentrating on maybe their darker sides, because they are in this very hard aspect to each other, and it can bring out their grouchier sides, you see. So Pluto and Scorpio tends to rule anything that goes on subliminally, under the table, under the rug, under the carpet, hypnotism, NLP maybe, or some sort of mind manipulation, like through advertising. It's also about domination and control of the masses, sometimes by underhand or secret means. It rules banks, money markets, governments, and the underworld. Now, in the 60s, these two planets came together and into a conjunction and really made their mark on history. And those of you who were there will know what I'm talking about. Manifested as radical change in our societies. And in the wealthier parts of the world, it meant the pill, women's love, women's lib, free love, maybe experimenting with multiple partners, women's lib, women burning their bras, and there was the Beatles in cassette players, and it was a breaking of traditional ways with dress and with hairstyles, and also with how people lived. Uranus in Cancer. Cancer is about the domestic setup. So found some people living and bringing up families, or living communally. Maybe in a very fringe way on the edge of society, and living in places like teepees and yurts, and boats or tree houses, and overall it was a breaking down and renewing, not only of the family unit but of how society ran itself. And of course there was experimentation with drugs as well, but not so much the real sort of heavy hard stuff that we have now. It's more hallucinogenic drugs. Not so much that, but it was to break the ties that bind. Now, 44 years later, we're coming back into the vibration of these two, the vibrational winds of these two planets. You can't see wind. You can only see it when it goes on waves or on water, or into waves, or we feel it, but we can't see it. And it's a bit like, for me, how these vibrational energies are in astrology. So in 2011, we sat and watched, maybe on the internet or on TVs, as there were marches and sometimes riots and military interventions, and we saw tyrannical regimes come tumbling down. Another day, another dictator, and we saw fires and floods and plagues and pestilence and bloodshed and death, and this is all very Uranus and Aries stuff, but also this has been prophesied as well. I mean, perhaps not the details, but going back, a couple of thousand years, the beginning of a new age is accompanied by this kind of upheaval, but this is a super new age we're coming into because of the galactic alignment, and the turning back again towards the galactic center. There's a lot of good things as well. Uranus and Aries loves to pioneer and show the way into new things. So there's been and will continue to be amazing new inventions that come along, particularly with robots. But I say particularly, I mean, that's something that could really start to progress now. But also, making diesel out of E. coli is absolutely amazing. And in our personal life, sometimes we saw the people we love decide to leave or sometimes check out altogether. And sometimes we had to part from the people we love so as not to betray ourselves. And that's a tough call. The current transit of Uranus and Pluto will continue to bring about deep transformational change through conflict and strife over 2012. It's their job. And that's the end of part one, and hopefully I will see you on part two. Hi, welcome to part two of the Shift 2012. Now, because of the galactic alignment, which is culminating on December the 21st, 2012, we are the children living in the end times on this planet. And the curtain is coming down on an epoch which has lasted several millennia. And just now we're witnessing the painful labour which precedes the birthing of a new dawn and a new day and a new human being. And what a wonderful new day I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be increasingly amazing because our solar system once again starts orbiting back towards the source from which it came, the galactic center, and not away as it has done for a great age. So all of the systems and cultures and religions, in fact all of history, has been laid down by those, almost like having to live on our batteries as this planet's been orbiting away from the galactic center. More and more separation felt, more isolation felt. And now we are turning and coming back to the loving, beating heart of the universe, of Source. So in 2012, this planet will no longer be pulling away from that warmth. It will be beginning to make the long trek home. And the supporting actors, Uranus and Pluto, who are doing their jobs by shaking things up, will be keeping us on our toes, and we'll be crossing swords. We'll be affected externally by what we're used to being swept away, or very radically changed. But also we'll be affected us sometimes very much in our feelings and in our what we thought was never going to change is going to change. It's not going to be everything, but it'll be some things at certain times. So what we thought was kind of written in stone, and certain systems out there that we rely upon will maybe begin to falter, and in some cases crash down, and things can get pretty chaotic and messy along the way. But this is no ordinary moment on planet Earth. This isn't just an ordinary recession, this is something much bigger. Recession is just a symptom. So these two big hitters, Uranus and Pluto, can act, well, especially Uranus, very suddenly, and they can be very unexpected and potentially life-changing. However, because this is the spirit of rebirth and renewal, then a lot of good things can get the ball can get rolling on a lot of good stuff, and as more open we are and more flexible we are to this flow of change energy that we're all in, even though it makes us feel a bit nervous and a bit insecure in the short term, and we don't like that. It really is a characteristic of Uranus that you can't really consolidate. So experiment and look to a beautiful, rosy future, because there will be one. This thing is going to be rolling forward anyway, but there's a huge opportunity for us to really make the best of it if we're aware of what's really going on, and don't see it like myopically, like, this is all designed to make my life uncomfortable. It's huge. It's much bigger than that. Just stay calm, because actually Uranus it rules the nervous system. It can make us feel edgy. So this is why my top tip would be to take a few minutes every day in meditation, breathing exercises, perhaps Tai Chi, yoga, but also go in for this work on letting go and forgiving. And then you can actually perhaps enjoy the ride. So as I said this time last year, the advice is to prepare yourself for this huge change by having a plan B, no matter how small plan B it is. Just, it can be anything, but, the gist of it is to get more self-sufficient, is to go back to, like, the old way, perhaps. Maybe, have a veggie plot, or if you can't do that, just have like some plant pots with herbs or something in them, with tomatoes or carrots, or, on a tiny space. You can even do that. Just be more self-reliant, and more self-sufficient in whatever, and also connect up with others, and then maybe exchange and share, you see. So I think that this force for change will have the powers that be tightening their grip, because they get insecure, they get worried, they don't know that this is part of a huge puzzle. They think that it's only about their little bit. Well, it's not. This is the greatest show on earth, and we were lucky to get here at this time, but the force for change is strong, and they will see it as rebellion, and maybe be trying to shut certain things down, or close, stop people doing things that they consider to be dangerous for them. So, of course, this isn't about being rebels. This is about finding your feet in these very uncertain times, and when change suddenly comes along, it doesn't mean that you have to get too radical, which is why I think that it would be good if you were to, and we all were to, just spend a little bit more time stilling the mind, staying calm, because then the study was done on people who meditate, actually, and when life comes along and picks them up by the scruff of the neck and shakes them with a shock of some kind or another, they function far more calmly and from a deeper level of their cerebral cortex. It's actually shown to be the case. So I think this would be a good tip. And just remember, this is no ordinary moment, and it's going to be like we're all a deck of cards being reshuffled for a while. Everything's going to feel edgy and we don't know what's going on, and we'll be disorientated and it feels a bit random, but it's not. Believe you me, the universe knows what it's doing, and it sticks to very strict rules, mathematical, geometrical rules. So you volunteered, you've made it, you got here to be at this time on Earth. This is a very special time. You are going to, have a ringside seat to a whole planet evolving, and you can really help it. You can really midwife it by looking after yourself, because we all radiate. So if you look after yourself, that'll affect your kids, that'll affect, friends, that'll affect people around you. This is a tough school, and only the strong souls get here. Only strong souls can take on a lifetime on planet Earth at any time, but particularly this time. This is what I think. This is what I've been picking up. This is what I've been told. And her field is very heavy and slow and emotional. So, you're learning to master emotion here, but also you are learning, and you have learned, to master limitation. This is the place of limitation, and you are a master of limitation. I've heard that said, and I agree with that. And so you are a master, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't. So just remember that as this time unfolds. Becoming involved in something right at the leading edge sometimes causes derision and people making fun of you. There's never a crowd at the leading edge. But we are about to make history. We are in the middle of making history. The precedent will be set. The children, the unborn children, will look back at this time, We are the people. We are the children of the cycle ending. We are the people of the cycle beginning. We have one foot in each camp. The cycle ending, the cycle beginning. And we are the incarnated ones living during the Mayan end times, what the Mayans call the end times. We are the ones who are challenged to come back into right relationship with our eternal, higher, wise selves. Our true origins, which comes from love, which comes from the divine. That's where we are from. That's what we're made of. And we have a wonderful opportunity now to come into right relationship with each other, our planet, ourselves, connect with our higher selves, align and rise. And this is the still point between the two ages, between the out-breath and the in-breath. The ending of one great age and the beginning of another. Just make sure you listen to your gut and trust it. Listen to your heart and trust, and keep at least 1 foot on the ground as we go forwards here. So anyway, that's what I'm feeling, and I hope that's been interesting for you. So I wish you well, and I'll see you the next time.